Greetings and welcome to another edition of The Pedal Shift Project. The Pedal Shift Project is a series of conversations, thoughts, and experiments on bicycle travel adventures. From tips and tricks to ideas on how to ride your ride. Let's shrink the world by bike. Show notes and more are available at pedalshift.net/365, and you can email the show at pedalshift@pedalshift.net or text me at 202-930-1109 and check Pedal Shift out on all the socials as well. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 365th edition of the Pedal Shift Project. I'm Tim Mooney. Thanks so much for joining. Before we get into the show, we've got a couple of things. First, a reminder to hold Saturday, June 8th, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, or whatever time it is in your time zone. Special live show celebrating 10 years of Pedal Shift. We'll have my top 10 moments, a tour reveal, which I'm super excited about, and some patented chat room banter. You can find it on the Pedal Shift YouTube page, which it's already there with a countdown if it's not beforehand, and also at pedalshift.net/live. I have to give this a shout out, and I'm going to give it a continuing shout out. If you are not subscribed to and listening to Lael Wilcox's podcast, I absolutely cannot recommend it enough. She's trying to break the world record for cycling around the world and is audio journaling every single day. And this is a person who rides 200 miles in a single day, gets back, sits down with her wife, and then freaking podcasts after it. It is amazing, and I can't get over how much I love this. She has recently completed her Eastern U.S. leg. In fact, as I'm sitting here recording this right now, she's in the midst of flying to Europe. Because by the time you hear this, she's going to be in Europe working her way east. It's so good. Go to laelwilcox.net for the details. She is a legend. She is elite. It is awesome. Check it out. All right, on with my far less robust adventure. After leaving you all with a bit of a cliffhanger last time, the decision is made. My formerly slow and chill C&O ride now gets another 18 miles of essentially uphill riding to some sweet, sweet roofed lodging at my cabin. But that means I cross into West Virginia, where I encounter something I've never dealt with before. Explicit tag earned for this episode. All right. Welcome back. I have decided that I am going to ride to my cabin. The thing that I said was not going to happen is going to happen. I have a great window right now. There's dry weather, or mostly dry weather at least, for the next several hours, basically until right before sunset. And after that, it's just going to rain a lot for the next day or so. And so what this does is so much for the C&O But Slow, because I'll end up putting in a pretty hefty mileage day, way more than I expected going into this trip. So I don't know if I'll keep the title, but I think we can all make fun of the title at the end of the day. It's not going to be a fun couple of hours, I can tell you that. This is not my favorite route. I'm going to be crossing the 522 bridge. It's perfectly fine. There's a shoulder. I can usually cross over no problem and get to River Road no problem. And then it's a busy. Well, I shouldn't say busy. It is a not untraveled road with very little shoulder until I get to I think it's Cherry Run Road. But basically the road that climbs out of the valley. So I've got about at least 7 or 8 miles on River Road, and it's a little exposed. So I'm going to turn on my light now, which is fully charged, and I'm going to give that a good flash. I'm thinking by leaving now, it's probably for the best for a couple of reasons. One, it gives me, 2.5 full hours until sunset. Am I doing that right? No, 3.5 hours. Yeah, I was going to say 2.5. I would be like, that feels like it's a little tight, but 3.5. I should be able to do this in 2.5, I'm thinking. And I just took a really good long break. I've got plenty of water now.
I can throw in an electrolyte if I decide to do that. And the idea is that I'll be at the cabin, and I'll ride from the cabin to the train station, which is also not an awesome route. So the nature of this tour has changed quite a bit, but it's also actually kind of fun because it's a way of utilizing my cabin and transit together. So there you go. I'll try to give myself some ups on that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I did consider staying here overnight. There's a good argument, probably the better argument, that if I did this fresh tomorrow morning, that I would feel better. But I also think that doing this without like rain and having a wet tent and packing up in the morning and all that, like I think that ultimately I'll be better off. And the other thing is, I'm still not loving this park. There's just, you just don't know, like you just don't know who could show up in the middle of the night, you know what I mean? And for whatever reason, this makes me feel more exposed. So that's my reasoning. I'm going to stick to it. I have my lights already on. I think I'd mentioned that because I did that while I was recording. And I have to get to the 522 bridge, which takes a little bit of doing, but it's not too bad. There's going to be some climbing here, some concern about my gearing. I think I got it all tightened up pretty well, but I guess we'll see. I think my chain was throwing in the lower gears, and I didn't think it was a big deal, and I wouldn't need it. Well, here I am, right? I'm certainly going to need the lowest gear for some of the climbs, so I really hope that this all works out. This may not be a great idea, but it's the idea I'm going with, and I will be rewarded with a nice warm shower tonight if this works out. And if it, well, I mean, here's the thing. I'm going to get there eventually. It's just a question of, like, how sucky this is. All right. So the name of the game of this episode is Pain from River Road. And it's been fine so far. Downside is I've got a fairly robust headwind, but it's actually serving to cool me down a little bit, which is always a good thing. Probably got another at least 4 miles. I think I might have a little more than that. I think I've got 15 total, so I think it's 4 miles until one of the turnoffs, which Mysterious James did once and did not recommend. And just what I know about that route from driving it, I don't think that it's a preferable route. So I think I'll do the route that Google suggests is less. I've never had my coal rolled until just now. Well, fuck you very much. Amazing. Well, he did it shittily, so it's mostly dispersed. Yeah, many of my neighbors suck. There's really great people in West Virginia, but there are tremendous assholes too. And I'm afraid that the proportion is not great sometimes. Exhibit A. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm quite literally on the white line, but permission structures have been granted to these people. So I'll leave it at that. All right, the route is before me. The weather seems to be holding. I think I'm regretting the fried food. I'm regretting the mozzarella sticks. They are not digesting very well, as you would expect. I just was like, need calories, and the screen at the Sheets was like, hey, how about these? And I'm like, sure. So there was that. All right, so like I said, I've got several more miles here on River Road. And then the nice thing is that once I get off River Road, what just happened to me here is far less likely to happen. I end up off. This is the major route that goes parallel to the Potomac River down here. So folks that live back here, sorry, my microphone moved. For folks that live back here, this is a thoroughfare, and it's a 2-lane road, but it's fine. So once I get off that, I'll be on more back roads. But it will be the climbing time, and I'm not looking forward to that. Although I will say there's a few hills of note, so much so that I did get into my lowest gear, and it stayed on just fine. So I think what I'm learning is my bike's middle gears on the cassette, they may be borked. So I may need to replace this cassette and likely the chain with it before I go on my next adventure with this bike. But for now, since I'm aware of it, I'll just kind of live in the gears that don't go skippity skip, and I think I should be fine. My best guess is that my energy is gonna start to flag probably a little too soon, but at least if I can get within about, once I get to about the climbing part, that's halfway, and that'll feel good, I think. And I've been known to push a bike when necessary, and I'm not above that, if that's kind of where I'm at. It's been a fairly long riding day, but I will say the being on pavement versus that trail does feel a lot better. So I think, well, my dead cat moved off of my microphone, so now you're catching wind. I think at the end of the day, I got all I could out of that trail, given the conditions. And I think I'm making the right choice to go to all road routes, the rolling coal notwithstanding. All right, that is enough. You will hear from me more in a bit. Continuing my route back, I'm on Cherry Run Road, which probably doesn't mean anything to any of you, but this is the turnoff of River Road, which is fantastic. You may hear in the background a train. And that's interesting to me because that's a train that's on the rail line that would have impacted my crossing of that bridge. And you'll have to assume it would have taken me about that long to get there. So interesting element to all of this. There was a part of me that was thinking of going later so that my crossing on that bridge, should I have taken it, then maybe a little more under the cover of the darkest hours of the night. But you never know when the trains come. And so I quickly abandoned it. The opportunity cost, or maybe not the opportunity cost, the cost of taking the route that I did, even though starting from that point, it was no skin off my back to cross the legal bridge, is that to get to this point requires a lot of up and down and some pretty steep hills. If you take the non-legal crossing, you're not doing any hills at all. You're just taking the Western Maryland Rail Trail, and then you're pushing a bike up. So relative effort level, hey, I don't know. But I do know this. I am about, what would we say? Maybe I should consult Google Maps. And Google Maps will tell me precisely how far I am. I'm 6.5 miles away. So, am I feeling great? I'm not feeling bad, but I think this is where there's some additional climbing, although I frankly have probably done most of the difficult climb, except now that's not true. I know I've got a few to go, but I've hopped off the bike a couple of times. I've slammed it into the first gear more than a number of times. It's just a question of patience at this point. I've got probably, let's again consult the actual information. I have precisely 2 hours until sunset, and I probably have arguably an hour's worth of riding to go. Just depends on how fast I can do it. There's only one area that I would argue is back to less safe than these side roads, and that is when I pop out onto Highway 9. And I'll be on there for just a short period of time. The time of night is probably somewhat favorable because it's after any kind of commuter traffic or anything like that. It's a major highway that runs along the spine of the 3 counties that make up the Eastern Panhandle. I don't love riding on it, but it's not that big of a deal considering I've ridden on 101 and some other places. Not much of a shoulder. Have to go downhill very fast, which is great. And then there's an uphill component, which is not so great, but then I quickly turn into the road that is the beginning of the road of where I live. It's not the road I live on, but within a couple. So, and once I'm on there, I think it's reasonably safe. There's more climbs in there, of course, but just is what it is. It's the price I am paying for the 0 day that I'll be taking tomorrow. So it'll all be worth it when I get home. The other thing I should mention as for the 3rd day of riding or the 2nd day of riding, I've lost track of day 0 counted. I guess this is day 1, so I guess it'll be day 2. I have no idea. I don't know how I'm going to enumerate these things. But the going to the train station, I'm going to do that completely unloaded because I realize I can leave all my camping gear there at the cabin, which actually is where it usually lives. So that's a pretty good thing. We'll make that final day a lot easier. So I ended up only doing 1 night of camping when all is said and done, but I think given the conditions and just given how I felt, I think I've earned it today with all of this riding. I think I've mentioned I don't feel like I'm in great biking shape, and I'm definitely not. I definitely am feeling it, but I'm accomplishing stuff. And even though I shouldn't be spiking the football at this point by any stretch of the imagination, I'm feeling like this was a good day, and I need to do more of this. I'm glad I'm getting some hill practice in, because as you probably have figured out, there's no flat tours for me coming up for this year that I'm aware of, at least. So this is good. All right, more to come. And I don't know when I'm going to check in with you again. Probably at least 1 or 2 more times before I get back. Certainly when I get back, because that's going to be spiking the football right there. But not yet. From the junction of West Virginia 9 and Mountain Lake Road. Holy smokes. Yay. That was actually really easy, the Highway 9 part. And there was just the one climb after getting some nice speed. I only got passed by a couple of vehicles during the uphill portion, so that actually worked out really well. The geese are back. They're flying around, making their presence known. I'm almost there. It's just a matter of miles now. Let's do a quick Google Maps check on that. Google Maps check says, let's see, a mere 3.1 miles to go. They are some of the worst of the 3.1 because I've got 2 very steep, very short, but very steep hills. When I'm loaded, even in great shape, I very rarely can make it up these hills, even in the lowest gear. So I presume I'm gonna have to hop off. It's fine. And what's hysterical is that at least on a couple of occasions, one that's coming up first, as I push up, because there's not much of a shoulder and it's on a bit of a curve, sometimes people will kind of slow down and be like, "You okay?" So that happens. I suppose it's better than getting coal rolled or rolled coal or whatever the proper use of the term is there. Yeah, that was a thing. But yeah, honestly, this was so far better than I expected. I really expected to be in a great deal of pain at this point. And I think two big things. One, caffing up and sugaring up, and also just taking an extended break. I think I got to get out of the habit of just pounding out miles. What happened to C&O But Slow, man? I did not do that because I was racing the rain, and then I had plenty of time, and then apparently I had enough time to get back here. So here we go. Speaking of, since it's only about 3 miles, it will take me probably a solid half hour, I'd imagine, getting back. But I've got an hour and 25 minutes until sunset and about an hour and 10 minutes until rain. So I should be safely ensconced inside my place before all that. So I'm glad I left when I did. I'm glad I did this. It ends up making the day a longer day, but certainly longer than I was anticipating for this tour. The inaptly named C&O But Slow. but it's so far so good. I will check in one more time once I get to the finish line for here day 1/2/ whatever it is. And yeah, see somebody's got a little campfire going over yonder. That sounds pretty good, but I think I'm going to be doing it inside because I have a funny feeling once this rain starts, I'm going to be very happy that I'm in. The lows for the next couple of nights are pretty low, especially in 2 nights. So I think when I leave for the train station, which you'll be hearing soon enough, it's going to be chilly that morning. So I'm going to have to figure out an idealized route. I think I have a good sense of which way I'm going to go, but I'll spend some of tomorrow figuring that out. All right, more to come, but the next you'll hear me, presumably, is going to be from my cabin. Yes, yes, yes. From the cabin. Holy smokes, Jackson's happy to see me. He wasn't expecting it. Does he have expectations? He's a cat. Yeah, I made it. It took 3 hours, which when you think about it, it's not 15, I think it's 18 miles. That's slow, but of course there's a ton of terrain and I am very tired, but I'm not in pain. I'm better than I thought I would be, but I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to get things inside. It's going to be a bit of a process, of course, to do that. The rain did not hit yet. It is still scheduled for probably in about a half hour or so, and it seems like it's coming. You could definitely tell that it was coming. The sun is still up, 45 minutes to spare, so that was great. Yeah, this was the right call. It was one of those things that I was sort of like, if I didn't think I'd have the energy to do it, I was going to stay. But I had the energy, it turned out, and I knew that kind of once you start going, it's not like you're going to stop any place. So it's kind of the old Irish proverb where you throw the hat over the wall. Mysterious James and I do this all the time. We're like, over the wall. Yeah, so I did it. Yeah, I am excited to be here. I am going to make, I think, a camping meal because I'm not even sure what food I have here because I wasn't planning on being here for weeks. Yeah, I got some string cheese and yeah, I have 1 cold bubbly water. I will drink the hell out of that. So, end of the day, don't know how these episodes are going to be coming out. So I'm not sure if this is the end of the episode or the middle of the episode, but of course, what I've just earned by doing this very, very, very robust day of mileage that I did not anticipate doing, what I have earned is a 0 day. And I don't get 0 days very often. I usually only declare them when there's going to be some weather that I don't feel like being in. This definitely qualifies. So yeah, great example of why sometimes you need to call audibles in the middle of tours. And I think in an earlier edition of this particular journal, I talked about being flexible and taking what comes at you. I mean, that's certainly what happened here. I did not anticipate being here. Otherwise, I would have had food. Do I have coffee? I have coffee. All right. We're going to make do. I get a couple of sleeps here, a little bit of rest and relaxation, but I do have a challenging ride to the train station. This is not a simple ride. There is a challenge to all of this. It will be unloaded though, which I think will make it a little bit easier. And I'm going to do it early on a Saturday morning, so I think that that's going to help as well. I don't have the option of missing this train really. So, good morning from my 0 day. It rained from about 9 p.m. with thunder and lightning fairly heavily all night. It is still raining now, but there are clearing spots, so it looks like it's going to be off and on all day today. I can't imagine what that trail looks like right now. It was pretty soft in parts before, as we all experienced, but right now, after that kind of a rain, that's when the trail can be pretty miserable. The lightning was actually a bit of an eye-opener last night. It wasn't very close, but it was close enough. And a little bit of wind too. So, I mean, I made the right call here to basically put the pause on things. But of course, I busted my butt to make the pause possible. So
Definitely, we're still technically on tour here, but, I think taking a 0 day strategically is always a good idea. This is definitely one of them. This will also give me a chance to maybe give the bike another look, see what's going on with some stuff, and figure out my plan for the morning, because obviously I do have a destination that I have to get to by a certain time, and also rethink what the gear is going to be. I'll probably bring a change of clothes, I'm thinking, just to have the ability to get out of anything wet, because I'm sure I'll be at least sweaty. But it does look like it might rain a little tomorrow, so it's not going to be a completely dry, rain-free situation, but certainly better than last night. Yeah, I'm just thinking, waking up this morning to a soaked tent and having to pack it all up and then make that ride that I did yesterday cold. It is cold, by the way. It really dropped down. Tomorrow will be even colder. So this also gives me an opportunity to maybe supplement what I was going to wear, or at least have different layers and stuff. So in any event, here in the 0 day, I'm feeling pretty grateful for making the right call in retrospect. And I feel badly for everybody who's on the trail right now, especially anybody who camped, because if just looking at the radar, it was a blob of yellow and red and orange that just went right over that trail, and it's just no bueno. So, all right, certainly more to come, and going to spend the day recuperating a little bit and getting ready for tomorrow.
Statistics. Miles biked 18, F-bombs tossed 1, 0 days 1, heavy rainstorms dodged 2, flats 0. And as always, we like to close out the show with a special shout out to the Pedal Shift Society. Because of support from listeners like you, Pedal Shift is a weekly bicycle touring podcast with a global community. Expanding into live shows and covering new tours, if you like what you hear, you can support the show for $5, $2, or even $1 a month. And there's one-shot and annual options if you're not into the small monthly thing. Check it all out at pedalshift.net/society. On to the society. Kimberly Wilson, Caleb Jenkinson, Cameron Lean, Andrew McGregor, Michael Hart, Keith Nagel, Brock Didis, Thomas Skadow, Marco Lowe, Terrence Manson, Harry Telgadas, Chris Barron, Mark Van Ram, Brad Hipwell, Mr. T, Nathan Poulton, Stephen Dickerson, Vince LaGreco, Cody Florchinger, Tom Beninati, Greg Braithwaite, Sandy Pizzio, Jeff Muster, Seth Pollock, Joseph Quinn, Drew Porter, Byron Patterson, Joaquin Robber, Ray Jackson, Jeff Fry, Kenny Mikey, Lisa Hart, John Denkler, Steve Henkel, Miguel Quinones, Alejandro Aviles Reyes, Keith Spangler, Greg Towner, Jody Zaranin, Lucas Barwick, Michael Baker, Brian Bechtal, Reinhard Bigel, Greg Middlemiss, Connie Moore, William Gothman, Brian Benton, Joan Churchill, Mike Bender, Rick Weinberg, Billy Crafton, Gary Matushak, Greg Latoile Lopez, James Sloan, Jonathan Dillard, John Funk, Ronald Paroli, Dave Roll, Brian Hafner, Misha LeBlanc, Ari Messenger, David Grotke, Todd Grossbeck, Wally Estrella, Sue Reinert, John Lico, Stephen Granada, Philip Mueller, Robert Lackey, Dominic Carroll, Jackie McCullum, John Hickman, Carl Presseau, David Neves, Patty Louise, Terry Fitzgerald, Peter Steinmetz, Timothy Fitzpatrick, Michael Azuski, Hank O'Donnell, David Zanoni, David Weil, Matthew Sponseller, Chad Reno, Spartan Dale, Carolyn Ferguson, Peggy Littlefield, Lauren Allensmith, Eric Burns, Thomas Pearl, Darren McKibben, Richard Stewart, Dave Fletcher, Jack Smith, Luke Parkinson, Ryan Patterson, Cyrus Faravar, John Gardner, Sam Scruggs, Dwight Pintinger, Connie Bowder, Rob Merrifield, and thanks to all past and anonymous folks for helping make this show happen. Thank you for joining. You can find Pedal Shift at pedalshift.net for more great bicycle touring content. You can hear the Pedal Shift project through Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app. Opening music courtesy of Jason Kent off his self-titled album. The track is called America. Check out his band Sunfield's latest release, Mono Mono, wherever cool music is available.